So, practical effects.
First is special effects.
Yes. Which do you prefer and why?
Oh, like for me, when it comes to
I guess by special effects we should state
CGI. Practical effects is my main go for on movies, but there is movies I like with special effects, which we'll slowly get there. But yeah, mainly practical effects because I grew up in the 80s watching those really bad horror movies, but was really good with the special effects, or not special effects, but practical effects that they use, like with Tom Savini and all them.
And that's what made a lot of those movies good, was just the practical effects. Because it also added to the illusion of movies. Was like, how did they do that? It was kind of like watching like a magic show. Where nowadays you're just like, it's computers.
Yeah.
You know? But don't get me wrong, like CG has its place. The problem I have with CG is the fact that it's become like the easy way out. And again, for me, as an audio engineer, if two engineers would have come up to me like, here's 2 CDs I've done, and I go and listen to both of them, and I'm like, wow, these sound really, really good, and I go and talk to these guys again, and like, this one guy's like, well, I did this at Blackbird Studios, which is a high-end studio here in Nashville. It has all the gear you want. And this other guy's like, I did that in my mom's basement. I'm gonna be like, wow, that guy's good, because he took a limitation and made it amazing. And that's what you did back in the day, and that's why those movies are so special, because like, a lot of times even today you're like, man, how did they do that?
Yeah.
So it adds a little bit more to the art form, I think, of movies is practical effects. And the other thing is, it's legit, it existed. The one I always think of is The Thing. John Carpenter's The Thing.
Great movie.
Yeah, I love that movie. And the one scene, you can clearly tell it's fake, but when the dog like starts like going crazy, and you can tell it's the Thing and whatnot, it looks fake. You can tell it's fake, but it's still so damn freaky when you watch it, because you're like, that was real.
Yeah.
That was a thing they made, you know? And it's an underappreciated art, in my opinion.
I think mine, when it comes to practical, is mainly most of Tom Savini stuff for George Romero with Night of the Living. Well, he didn't do Night of the Living Dead, but Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead. Like, one of the things that people always think about when it comes to, like, Dawn of the Dead, there's a certain zombie that I'm friends with, Jim Crut. I think that's how you say his last name. It's Krut. But he was the helicopter zombie from Dawn of the Dead. Okay. And the helicopter blade just like cuts off the top of his head. I mean, you could tell now when you watch it, it's like, you can tell it's a little bit of a prosthetic that's a little bit higher. But I mean, it's really cool. You're like, how did they do that back then? And I think Day of the Dead is the most grotesque of practical effects, because you can't tell where the makeup is a lot of times. Because there's one scene where they just take the guy, the actor is still screaming and everything. You see them grab their hand and just rip out his eye and the top of a chunk of his head, and it's like, man, that's fucking intense. Yeah. And when I was a little kid, when I watched that movie, that made me sick. I literally ran to the bathroom.
Is that scene? Watch that as a kid, man.
I mean,
that explains so much.
I didn't care, but it was like, it was that scene and the scene where they rip the guy in half, and he's like yelling, "Choke on them!" and stuff like that. I mean, it's just so intense.
Now, don't get me wrong, like I said, CG has its place. Obviously, none of the Marvel movies nowadays would exist without CG, and that's fine. But I feel like practical effects should still be used when you can, and I still state that the perfect movie for that is Jurassic Park.
I was going to say, I was going to ask, was like, what do you think was the perfect movie? Jurassic Park. That's exactly what I was thinking too.
And it was, because they only used CG when they had to, and it was more faraway shots. And you can kind of tell nowadays. I mean, it doesn't look bad. Obviously, today's standards of CG, it doesn't look that good. But considering this is the early 90s, that's crazy how good that looks. Because there's CG in like the late 90s and early 2000s that don't look anywhere near as good as that.
Like Terminator 2.
Oh, God, yeah.
But, I mean, like, I think one of the reasons why like Jurassic Park did so good too is the limitation, like you said, that they had the very limitations of the CGI back then. But it was also just like the fact that one of the reasons I think they had it be dark when they, like the T-Rex scene, is because if they did it in daytime, it just wouldn't look right. It wouldn't look realistic. That's kind of one of the reasons why they did it like at night. But the thing is also, it felt more real for it.
Because it is.
Because I mean, like, there's only a few shots with the T-Rex where you see the full body. That's like the scene where he first breaks out, and then
she breaks out.
Or she breaks out. Sorry, and then also the part with the raptors when they're jumping onto the T-Rex near the end.
Yeah.
And I think also with the little gazelle-like dinosaurs. I think that's the most...
Gallimimus.
Is that what it was? I couldn't remember. But I think that was the most where they actually... The CGI that they really used at the time.
I mean, we saw that. We went and saw that in 3D, the wife and I, when they re-released it in theaters. And I was like, I cannot believe how well this holds up. And in 3D, it's crazy. But anyway, yeah. Practical effects versus CGI.
What do y'all think?
What do y'all prefer? Let us know in the comments.